Represented in the media, and how that affects us. So we're gonna get going. What's up, guys?
So first we're gonna kind of talk about what is culture. Culture is essentially society's values, attitudes, and beliefs, and then how they affect our interactions. And at the center of our culture is obviously media. So media is dictating kind of how we interact with each other and what kind of values and beliefs that we have.
So before we're going to get into this right now, and we're going to show you some pictures. And just, if you know the people, yell out their names, okay? So who's this?
Start off pretty easy.
Rachel.
The vow, come on.
Rachel McAdams.
Rachel McAdams!
Nice. And this one?
Kim Kardashian.
And can anyone say, before we skip back, go back to Kim, what is Kim famous for exactly?
Her parents.
Good idea.
Her curves.
Nice.
So her appearance, her parents. She's pretty much famous for being famous, I would say. Alright, go on to the next one. Who? That's
Snooki.
Snooki. And on the right? The T-Moms. And TV stuff. Great. Now we're going to make it a little bit more challenging. We're going to have 3 more women, and you're going to just try to spitball, see if you can figure out who they are. So the first one. It's difficult. We can break it down though. I mean, she seems to be in somewhat of a lawyerly position. Maybe she's a judge. Maybe she's the most important judge in Canada at the highest court.
So run it because I know who this is. I can't remember the name.
Nothing? Maybe she's the Supreme Court Justice.
That's Beverly McLaughlin, just so you know.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that we have a female who is at the highest level of court in Canada. So just underneath Stephen Harper in terms of superiority, she's the lady. So, all right, the next one.
Anyone know her? Yeah,
Yeah.
Kim Campbell.
And who's Kim Campbell?
She was the first female prime minister, I think.
She was, and
Got
only,
it.
unfortunately. Yeah,
That's awesome that you know that.
It's a pretty old picture, so. And this, any readers here? Does anyone like to read? Magazines don't count, really. Yeah, nice. She's Margaret Atwood. So I don't know if you know the author at all. She's trying to save the libraries in Toronto right now. She's very, very accomplished and very, very famous in Canada.
So, why do you think you guys know more about the first group of women and not the second group of women?
Because they're old. They're more
Because they're old.
That's true.
That's more entertaining.
More entertaining, maybe, but
They're all over magazines.
yeah. But we think, like, what we're trying to say here today is it's because successful, accomplished, powerful women usually aren't represented in media. And media such as television, radio, news stories, they're only concerned with restricting women to ensure they buy into the ideal form of beauty. So women, like many of us, we look at these really pretty Rachel McAdams figures and we internalize this beauty myth, thinking, am I pretty enough, and what's wrong with my body? So this attitude affects how we interact with one another. A lot of you guys watch reality TV shows and you see people catfighting all the time. Everything's a competition. You look at pictures on Facebook, you always look and stare, it's like, why does she look like that? Why did she wear that? Everything, especially how women interact with each other, it's always a conflict and a competition. And this is due to the competition of being who's prettier and who's not.
And this shows that women haven't really achieved equality. Because it's not necessarily us feeling equal to men if we're constantly creating divisions between each other. If we feel like we can't support one another, if we're constantly cutting down other women. Comparing, body sizes, body appearances, hair, everything. And I mean, the feminist movement and feminism has become somewhat of a taboo term, a dirty word. I know that I never mentioned it when I was in high school, not once. I mean, you think of women with faux hawks and commando.
No, I know.
It's cool. Yeah, so you think of these women with like faux hawks and commando boots who hate men, but that's not what it's all about, It's about women coming together, and trying to achieve equality and stop creating divisions amongst each other, because it's not helping anyone. And it's the reason why we don't have a lot of these women in powerful, dominant positions, and it's why we don't know Chief Justice Beverly McLaughlin, or Margaret Atwood, or any other woman who's in a really superior position. But we do know Kim Kardashian, and we do know Snooki, you know?
So we're gonna show you a clip from Mean Girls. Who's seen Mean Girls? Okay, good. It's one of my favorite
It's so
movies.
good.
And we're gonna kind of it just shows you how girls in general are catty against each other. So
Homeschool is, I'm not retarded. So you've actually never been to a real school before? Shut up. Shut up. I didn't say anything. Homeschooled. That's really interesting. Thanks. You're like really pretty. Thank you. So you agree? What? You think you're really pretty? Oh, I don't know. Oh my God, I love your bracelet. Where did you get it? Oh, my mom made it for me. It's adorable. So fetch. What is fetch? Oh, it's like slide.
So that clip kind of just showed you how the cattiness is, like how girls, if you aren't really best friends with each other, kind of treat each other like dirt sometimes.
Yeah, and that's where we're kind of approaching this from the kind of feminist perspective. Feminism isn't very scary, you know, it's very simple. It just wants you to be exactly who you are without making any exceptions for anyone, especially what the media is dictating how you should be and how you should interact with other women. Essentially, if you want to be who you are and you don't want to have to necessarily pay attention to what people expect you to be, then you're a feminist. And guys are feminists too. We're not hating on guys, and we need to work with guys. Guys are our friends. Guys are also feminists. If they want women to be successful and to be themselves and to not have to compromise what they like, what they want to wear, whatever else, then they too are feminists. So in that sense, feminism is for everybody. And that's why media literacy is so, so important.
We want to break down and say feminists are not men-hating, crazy lesbians with faux hawks. We don't shave our legs. We wear Birkenstocks and combat boots. That's not the case. We're all from like different varieties of life. You can be poor, you can be black, you can be male, you can be female, anything like that. It's just, it's hard for you to be who you want to be because the media is constantly telling you how to act and how to behave.
It's putting an enormous pressure on everyone. I mean, 53% of girls who are only 13 already hate their bodies, hate the way they look. By the time you turn 17, that's nearly 8 out of every 10 girls hate how they look. That is a problem. We need to stop obsessing and scrutinizing our bodies. Also, 65% of women develop some kind of eating disorder throughout their life. 65%. And that ranges again from anorexia, bulimia, to even just calorie counting. Or working out not to have a healthier body, but to have a thin, thin body. Because that's the beauty ideal, because that's what's expected. And only when you are beautiful can you then try to be successful. And that's the problem. And media literacy. So our aim here today is to teach and encourage about media literacy. So we want to be more critical about what we see in here. You know, point to the problem, point to the source. Where are these messages coming from, and what do these mean, and how do they affect your life? So just, you know, take a moment to think, and we're going to show you more clips, and we're going to kind of delve more into the beauty ideal and different things. So
first of all, guys, level with me a bit. I'm not as fluent as these guys are in presenting. So I'm going to be talking about the beauty myth today, and how our society constructs notions of beauty, and how we're expected to attain and maintain it. So thanks to first and second wave feminism, women can no longer say that we are completely exploited. We have come so far regarding our sense of body image, our awareness of the power that media has to control us, and most importantly, equality between the sexes. However, younger and younger girls are being affected increasingly sexualized ideals, which is portrayed through the media with things like magazines, television, movies, and music videos. The media claims to represent women, but there's a difference between feeling empowered because the media tells you to, and actually being empowered and knowing the reasons why. So a question for you guys is, as young women, do you feel empowered based on what you see in the media?
Do you guys feel, do you feel powerful? Like, how do you see powerful women in the media? What do they show you?
like when you see Kim Kardashian and you see models in magazines, does it make you feel more powerful? Does it put like a little hop in your step when you go out to start your daily activities? Or does it make you think, do do I quite look like that? Look how thin her legs are, how thin are my legs in comparison? So
I
is it
didn't
really...
expect you guys to have like an answer, but maybe by the end of the presentation you'll have a more clear idea of what we're trying to tell you guys. So I'm going to show you a video now. Her name is Naomi Wolf, and she's a feminist theorist and scholar, and she talks about this thing called the beauty myth. So if you want to watch it.
A powerful one.
In a world of 1 million channels, people try to do more shocking and shocking.
With this Lady Gaga video, Lady Gaga has a message in the song about being born this way, or however you want to be. But as we watched it without the sound, what did we notice? We didn't notice anything about the lyrics. It was just Lady Gaga rolling around on the floor with hardly any clothes on. So, in that sense, I would say that this is a pretty unrealistic music video, particularly pertaining to Lady Gaga's lyrics, which are actually quite political, and she wants to really give a message, a positive message in this song. Okay, so also too, Lady Gaga is somewhat presented as an object in this video. Like, she's very idealized like the other clips that we saw. So I want you to keep that in mind when we watch the next clip for the next video.
Now they're all in the same thing.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, that's good.
And unmute.
Okay, so the next one, you might not recognize the video, but I'm sure you know the artist. So let's just watch what's happening in this video.
I got no patience, and I hate waiting. I can get you. So here, let's ride. Check about that ride. Let's ride.
The first song is a bit older, but I'm sure you guys all know who Jay-Z is. The second video is new, and I'm also sure most of you would be familiar with LMFAO. Okay, so what's happening in these two clips? Well, the one thing that connected the clips together was it was two clips about pouring liquids all over women's bodies, which is kind of strange if you think about it. But let's think about why that's happening in these videos. So in the Jay-Z video particularly, it's creating an image for Jay-Z. It's all about Jay-Z. It's about how his status as somebody who's powerful. For instance, Jay-Z on the video has his own yacht. He's got bathtubs or hot tubs on the yacht. He's got champagne, obviously. And then, what else does he have? Of course, he's got beautiful, scantily clad, hot women. So, and in the LMFAO video, the status that they're kind of creating is not so, it's a bit different. They're kind of saying that they're more of like a party culture and blah, blah, blah. They're wild and crazy, and I guess that's their image. But what happens in both videos is they're both pouring champagne all over women's bodies. And that's kind of strange if you start to think about it, because like I was saying, regardless of the song's lyrics or how good they are, or how good the song is, or if you like it, what's going on in the video? Well, the video is showing men pouring champagne all over women. Now, I don't know about you guys, but if you know what champagne is, it's basically like pop. That'd be like having a can of ginger ale poured all over you. It would kind of suck. Like, it's not water, it's champagne. And regardless of what it is, these guys are pouring it all over women. And what this happens here is it starts to, like the other stuff we've seen, it starts to objectify women. It starts to only see them in a sexualized way. Both videos also only show women in scantily clad clothing. And this is also highly sexualized. So for the next couple videos, my friend Rochelle here is going to talk a bit more about objectification.
Yeah, well, I'm not as amazing as Neil, who
memorize everything. So I'm a little bit of papers. But right now we're going to watch 50 Cent, as you can see, and a Beyonce video. So let's watch it.
Yo, money. Come on, man. I don't got all day. What's going on? 1587. Come on, I've been sitting here. Yeah.
You the change.
We'll keep going. Watch the next one.
History in the making. Part 2. So crazy right now.
I look a step so deep in your eyes. I touch on you more and more every time. When you leave, I'm begging you not to go. Call your name 2-3 times in a row. Such a funny thing for me to try to explain. How I'm feeling and my pride is the one to blame. Cause I know I don't.
Alright, so hopefully 50 Cent and Candy Shop aren't way too old for you, but it's a really, really good example. So in that video, I mean, what do you see? You see women basically turned into half-naked, sexy accessories, right? So they have no story, they have no voice, they have no personality. In fact, they're pretty much not people anymore, if you look. You don't really think of them as people. The camera focuses on their bodies, and it turns them into objects, and that's what we mean by objectification. When we say that, we mean that you're taking the humanity out of a person and you're turning them into a thing. So even at one point in the 50 Cent video, we didn't watch it, but 50 Cent's kind of in the foreground, he's singing, and in the background there are women that are basically these naked, half-naked, sexy statues. So if that's not objectification, what is, right? So even Olivia in that video, she's like the featured artist, even she can't escape it. She's dressed in lingerie, she's like cuddling up to 50 Cent, she's, you know, even she's objectified, and she's supposed to be a lead artist in this song, right? And then, so what we're doing is we're looking at them as bodies and not as people. But what about their attitudes? I mean, they definitely do have some kind of motivation. The problem is that their motivation is sex and sex drive, right? The only story that we really get in this video is that there's this like house full of women who want 50 Cent, they're going after him, and it's all about them trying to get with him. No matter how many other women are doing it, there's nothing like that. So they crave 50 Cent's attention, and that's their only personality trait. And when they can't get attention from 50 Cent, they're actually going to each other, right? At one point you see them in a bathtub full of chocolate, just having a good time, I guess. But the problem is that it's inviting the viewer to watch them, and it's inviting the viewer to look at their bodies, and this is what we call the gaze, okay? So the narrative is showing them also enjoying this attention, and that they want that. And of course, real women don't act this way, right? This is a male fantasy. And then we watched Beyonce, not to pick on Jay-Z and Beyonce, but they're both pretty bad for this. The thing is that it's not just male stars that have to do this, right? Beyonce has to show her body and be sexual to sell her music. It's the only way to do it, and it's a really time-tested formula. So you have stars that range from like teen stars like Selena Gomez all the way to like Christian music stars. Obviously there's a little bit toned down. They're probably not gonna be in bikinis, but you see them that they have to use their bodies to sell sex, or sorry, to sell their music. Not good, right? Yeah. So what do, right? So we watch them and they wear tiny outfits. They dance provocatively. They get naked on beaches. They wash cars. They swim in pools. Like this is the world that women inhabit in music videos. This is all they do, in general. So even Beyonce, right? She is like an independent woman. Even she has a song called Independent Woman, right? Yeah. Maybe. Even Beyonce, right? She's like this mega star who you know, can sell 1 million records. Even she has to use her body. So when you watch that video, you see her inviting people to look at her, inviting this gaze at her body. Zooms in on her butt, on her boobs, and she's inviting that, right? Like she's looking at the camera, like, you know, it's a little creepy. And I mean, her dance moves, right? Like they're pretty clearly simulating sex. I don't really need to say that. And the problem is that this is a really limited portrayal of women, right? The problem is that when you turn women into things, it's actually one of the first things that leads to violence against women. So we're gonna get a little bit more serious here, because there are definitely some real life consequences to these videos. So when you take away someone's humanity, it makes it a lot easier to hurt them. And if they aren't real people, violence doesn't seem so hard, it doesn't seem so bad. Unfortunately, the media shows violence against women all the time. It's not something that shocks us anymore because we see it so often. Music videos are awful for that. There's lots of images of women being pushed around, of crying, of being yelled at, berated, all of these things. And the problem is that they're turning this very serious issue into entertainment, and it's not entertainment. So the next 2 videos, we're gonna watch them without sound because I really wanna separate like the fun music from what's going on the screen. So we're gonna watch Maroon 5 first. Okay, so what did we just see?
Kidnapping.
Right? Exactly. So this is a song about a guy who finds his girlfriend cheating on him and he decides to shoot the guy. I guess that's pretty common, we've heard that a lot. But what does this video have to do with that? Why are there 2 women being tied up and put in the back of a car? How does that relate at all? It doesn't, right? And I'm pretty sure that I can't imagine anything more horrifying than that situation. But the problem is that those women don't look scared, right? They look like they've got all this makeup on, they look very sexy, and they're not afraid. And that's not realistic at all, right? So we're watching this like Maroon 5 video, and we're not really paying attention, and we're dancing around because it's so catchy. And we're actually watching the forcible kidnapping of 2 women. That's very problematic, okay? So it's violence against women, it's not entertaining, and it's not sexy. I mean, you saw those girls, they were wearing lip gloss, lots of makeup, little outfits, and they're giving that sort of sexy look to the camera while they're bound and gagged. Like that's, like, right? Does anybody feel a little bit creepy about that? Yeah. All right, so the next one we're gonna watch is Rihanna and Eminem, Love the Way You Lie. And so I know that this one's really controversial because Rihanna herself is a victim of domestic violence, but we're just gonna kind of leave that out and just look at the video, okay? So, what are we seeing here? We're actually just watching domestic violence. We're watching a boyfriend or a husband or whatever beat up his girlfriend. At one point in the video, right, you see like he hits her. And the problem is that the more we watch this, the less it shocks us, right? Like I kind of said before. So when putting this presentation together, I think we watched this video like 8, 10 times in a row, trying to find the right clip. And so we watched him hit her over and over and over, and I stopped flinching. I became less shocked every time. And that's what I mean by normalization. So we see this and it becomes normalized. It doesn't scare us anymore. It doesn't freak us out. But it's like there are women all over Canada right now suffering from domestic abuse and violence. And you know, it's not entertainment. This is something that we should be really objecting to. So you might say, right, that it's only one image or a couple images, and that it's not really a huge problem, but it is. Unfortunately, when you watch music videos, you can pretty much fit the characterizations of women into these three categories, right? They're either degraded, like we saw first with champagne poured all over them, or they're treated like objects, or they're only sexy, that's it, or they're being abused, or berated, or something violent. And the thing is that this really does have an effect on real life, and this really has an effect on our attitudes. We don't think it does, but it kind of sinks in, and we start allowing men start to think it's okay to treat us like this, and we start to think it's okay for them to treat us like this. So we're going to watch another video now. It's not a music video. It is a clip of basically a riot that happened. In New York, they have a Puerto Rican Pride Day parade every year. It's like a big event. And in 2000, things went very wrong, and a lot of women were sexually assaulted during this event, and people were filming it. So we have some videotape. It's a little bit serious, but it's not too bad, and I know you guys are all mature enough to handle it. So
It's a bit graphic, but I believe these clips were originally aired on the news.
They were.
So it's not something that is
Yeah.
is overly controversial that it wasn't on TV. So, but it's a bit violent.
It's a little bit hard to see, but there were three women standing over here, and this giant group of men are surrounding them, and you can see that they're pouring water all over them. It's going to cut to another victim over here, this girl, who, all of these women were just walking through Central Park, and they were all assaulted. So, I mean, doesn't this look a little familiar, right? I mean, this is exactly what we saw in the music videos, but this time it's real. And these women are not enjoying it, not in the way that the music videos show those actresses enjoying it. So I think when we're watching these images, they become so normal to us, and we forget that they have real life consequences. And we follow these examples that are set for us by the media and pop culture, and we do it without thinking. And that's why it's so important for you guys as young women to really question what you're seeing and think about what you're seeing, and say to yourself and to other people, I don't want to see this. I don't think it's okay to watch women, be abused and degraded all the time. Okay? So I know that was super serious, but we're gonna move on now to maybe something a little bit lighter and happier, and we're gonna talk about media, and we're gonna talk about reality TV and sisterhood.
And I'll be talking to you guys about sisterhood and the lack of sisterhood that exists in the media right now. So many movies that are geared towards younger female audiences like yourselves, tend to have a lot of similar characters. So usually there's somebody who you would consider the mean girl, and the mean girl is usually portrayed as being really snobby, rude, and selfish. And she's usually the most popular person in her school, and she's always the top of her school. And in the clip that I'm going to be showing you guys, it's from the movie Mean Girls. So if you could just...
Oh my god! I love your skirt. Where did you get it? It was my mom's in the 80s. Vintage! So adorable. Thanks. That is the ugliest effing skirt I've ever seen. Oh my god!
Okay, so in the clip that I just showed you, you see Regina George, and she would probably be considered the mean girl of her school. So like I said, she's snobby, she's rude, and she's selfish. And in the movie, she's the head of the school's most popular clique, the Plastics. So in that group, a lot of them consider themselves to be friends, even though they talk badly about each other, they criticize each other, and most often they don't even like each other. So in other words, you can consider them as being fake. So why do you think her peers always are so desperate to be friends with somebody like that? And most people would answer is because she's considered to be powerful and popular. But do you guys think in real life somebody would really want to be friends with somebody like Regina George? What do any of you guys want to be friends with somebody like Regina George? No, right? Exactly. So the next clip I'll be showing you guys is from the is from the reality television show The Bachelor. Have any of you guys ever watched that show? Yeah, so it's basically a group of about 25 women, and they're put in a house together to win the attention of one man.
I got the rose. Winning. I got a rose. You don't. Winning. 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 How about this ride? Screw you and the horse you rode in on. KCV gets the first date, and I'm kind of bummed. I could like to see her not come home. She's kind of annoying.
Courtney, let's spin the bottle. ... Then.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How'd that taste coming out of your mouth?
What?
How'd that taste coming out of your mouth?
When I said Courtney's name, there's kind of a shocked silence in the room. She made a comment, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because she doesn't even know me very well.
Ben gave the first impression rose to the one person that I had the worst first impression of. The first impression, like...
Okay, so from the clip that you guys saw, it was just basically one of the main characters in the show, and they were showing kind of her catty side. So a lot of reality television shows claim that they're completely unscripted, and what you guys are watching is actually reality. But after watching that clip, do you actually think that people act that way in real life? No. Yes. Sometimes. Why do you think people act like that?
Some people can be really mean sometimes.
Okay.
Or attention.
Exactly. So oftentimes what the media likes to do is edit portions of what we see on TV. So really they'll be showing only one portion, and they're not really showing the whole picture. So this clip is an example of how the media portrays women in a negative way, because it shows them only kind of competing against each other, and kind of not really showing the aspect where women can actually be friends and get along with each other. So the last clip that I'll be showing you guys is from the reality television show Jersey Shore.
Relationship only gets worse. In fact, it becomes an all-out war in round 2.
I find this girl to be the dumbest thing on the planet. Did you grow some balls all of a sudden?
I always had balls, honey.
I feel like Jenny 100% is into my boyfriend.
Really? There could be a
It's like you put firecrackers in like a dumpster. One match and you...
Okay, so after watching that clip, you saw that Jenny, JWoww, and Sammy, thanks. JWoww and Sammy were fighting over a guy. So I'm sure you guys have been in a situation where you've maybe been in a disagreement with a friend, but how many times have you actually gotten into a fist fight with somebody? Over a guy. Exactly, so it might, yeah, exactly. Or maybe just a fist fight in general. Like, most people usually resolve their problems with fist fights. Most likely, most of the time, that's usually not really something that most people do. So what the media is doing, again, this is just an example of how the media is portraying women in one kind of one-sided way. So it's showing women getting into catfights, when in reality, most of the time, people don't get into catfights to resolve their problems. So after watching those last 3 clips, I think that we can all agree that there's not really much of a promotion of sisterhood in the media. And does anybody know what the term sisterhood means? Or has heard of it at least? Does anyone want to maybe explain?
The sister of the travel pants.
That's sisterhood. Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically sisterhood is the idea of promoting kind of positive and supportive relationships between women. And the media focuses so much on not portraying women in kind of a positive light, and it kind of focuses a lot on portraying women in one way. So it really doesn't have the promotion of sisterhood that we think that there should be. So there's not really a lot of positive representations of women in the media. So we kind of want to leave you with the we want to leave you guys with the idea that maybe one time, if you guys are kind of watching reality television shows or even movies, you just have to kind of think critically, and maybe once you watch these shows, just kind of ask yourself the question, is this actually how people act in real life? mainly women. Is that really how you guys act?
Or wanna act.
Or want to act, exactly.
That's pretty much our presentation. I know that it's Friday afternoon and you all want to go home, but we did bring you candy because we sat through it. So.
What impact do you think this campaign had?
Well, actually, I believe that the girls were quite engaged, and after the discussion and the presentation was over, we overheard one of them saying that they had an interest in studying this type of stuff when they go to university. And as well, we got some questions after about, you know, what can be done to change this type of situation. So I believe that it did have a positive impact on some of the girls, if not the whole class as a whole.
What happened after the presentation?
I think that we gave the students a really good environment and a positive atmosphere for them to be able to ask us questions, and they felt very comfortable, and when we prompted them with questions, they were responding really well.
Would you ever consider running this campaign again?
Yeah, for sure. After seeing the reactions, I was passionate about it before, but after seeing all the kids interact with us, it just proves that this campaign is really effective and media literacy really needs to be spread.